Good morning. Good morning indeed. And how are you doing this fine day? Slightly distracted by the chat. Thank you very much indeed for that, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Happy 600th show. There's Ken Hatcher. Wow, I remember the first one. I'm glad you do. I have no recollection of it at all. Good morning, Mark, says Crystal. Congratulations on show 600. Now, before we go any further, this is the important part of the day. We do have a giveaway, but this is the important part of the day. Let me show you the gift that Gary Muirhead sent me earlier this week to mark our 600th show. Can you see that? Look at that. How cool is that? And I realise it probably makes me incredibly vain, but I can't tell you how happy that makes me. My face carved in wood. Awesome. As soon as the show is over, I'm going to reshuffle my backdrop for the umpteenth time to give it pride of place. Probably up there, I would suggest. And just for those of you that weren't here, that came from Gary Muirhead as well for our 500th show. So 500, 600. Need to have a bit of a reshuffle before we get to 1,000. But thank you so much for that, Gary. It really has. You have no idea how happy that makes me. The other thing that makes me so happy, obviously, is the fact that you've all been here for so long. Gary, Ken, all the people that have been here since the very outset. Who would have thought it? 600 shows in just over 3 years. Boy, have we come a long way. And I will be highlighting just how far we've come throughout the show. But I did mention the fact that we do have a prize up for grabs. I'm going to show it to you if I can. There you are. I don't know how well you can see that. That is a Kinshofer backpack. Not really sure what else I can do with that. Kinshofer backpack is up for grabs today to mark our 600th show. Would you like to know how to win it? Then let me show you. It's quite easy. I figured that some people might struggle to spell Kinshofer, so all you need to do is type the word pack, P-A-C-K, into the chat, and you'll be in with a chance. We will be doing the random draw at the end of the show. Obviously, you can, of course, have your say on today's show the usual way. Just type comments, questions into the chat. But if you'd like to lend your voice to the show, you can also leave us a voicemail that we may or may not use on some future episode, assuming there are future episodes. To leave us a voicemail, just use the link that I'm about to post in the chat, and I wasn't ready for that, but here we go. Let me just find the right button. It's that one. Yeah, leave us a voicemail message and we'll do what we can. Kerry Jones, good morning. Kerry's just popped into the chat. Lots of people taking part. Just as a very quick one to bring everybody up to date, I was planning to enter the competition today on behalf of Peter McKenna, because Peter McKenna was supposed to be going under the knife today. Been put back till Friday, so he's here and he can enter himself. So Peter, make sure you do enter. I did have a nice call from our friend Graham Footy Williams yesterday afternoon, who said he was planning to enter on Peter's behalf, and if he won it, he was going to donate the prize. You don't need to now, Footy. You can enter yourself. Jim Turner has just joined up. Good morning, Jim. Don't forget, you can enter the prize draw down the bottom there. Corrales. Corrales Satis. Good morning, everyone. Haven't seen you here before, so let me give you some welcome confetti just to welcome you to the gang. Corrales, good morning to you. I hope I'm not murdering your name, but thank you very much indeed for joining us. Lots and lots of entries coming through for the prize. Andy Dalvell says, call him Carlos. Okay, I will. Carlos it is. Henceforth, you will be Carlos. Thanks for that, Andrew. I take it he's another of your friends. Thank you very much for introducing somebody else to the show. Now, without further ado, I'm going to roll an intro, but it's not the current intro. It's our old style intro for those of you, a bit of a trip down memory lane. But I will be posting the question of the day, which also relates to the fact that it's our 600th show today. And again, it comes from Gary Muirhead. So this is, the intro, but this is how we used to look. Good morning. How are you doing this fine day? Me? Oh, still walking that fine line between anger and ambivalence, but thanks for asking. We have got an absolutely jam-packed show for you today. So let's roll the brand new intro. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. Wow. That was our intro from our 100th show, and that was brand new at the time. Did you see how bare the wall was? This wall here. Did you see the backdrop? The audio was out of sync and it sounded terrible. I have absolutely no idea why all of you stuck around. Now it is Wednesday, the 25th of October. Welcome to the windswept and interesting and rapidly aging Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, a big rig comes crashing down in Norway. The CASE Tomahawk Centre is the place to be. And I think you'll agree with me on that. We're dipping our toes in the water at a Welsh weir, and Komatsu's on parade in Japan. Plus, we're going underground at HS2 Ealing. Yes, HS2, it's still going on. But first, let's quickly peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day in 1415, remember it well, just after this show started, Henry V's forces defeated France at the Battle of Agincourt. In 1854, the Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War, more than 100 soldiers were killed in the infamous charge of the Light Brigade into the Valley of Death and all that kind of thing. In 1960, the first electronic wristwatch went on sale in New York. In 1965, the Rolling Stones released the single Get Off My Cloud. Fantastic song it is too. In 1978, the original Halloween movie was released. It was directed by John Carpenter, and far more importantly, it starred, let's just take a moment, Jamie Lee Curtis. In 2001, Microsoft released the Windows XP program, and on this day in 2021, Elon Musk made $25 billion in a single day, making him the richest person ever. Such a shame he's such a tool, really, isn't it? Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, our question of the day, timely indeed. It comes from our friend Mr. Gary Muirhead. The question is this: what have been your personal highlights over the past 600 shows? Now, Gary suggested this to me last night, and I've been giving it a bit of thought. My first highlight, I guess, would have been when we've used the power and reach of the show in pursuit of something good. Our coverage of the Didcot investigation, which remains ongoing after almost 8 years, our refusal to allow the red car accident to be forgotten, and even helping people like Graham Footy Williams to get his competence cards back. And we found work for people, we found training schemes for people, we've even found size 17 boots for people. My second and probably my bigger highlight is the fact that we've been able to create a community around this single and slightly strange passion that we all have. We all get up each morning. On the face of it, we just watch some digger and demolition videos, but it runs way deeper than that. We've each raised the spirits of each other whenever life has got in the way. We've celebrated birthdays and accomplishments together, and we've had a giggle along the way. I can honestly say, and I really do mean this, I can honestly say I wake up each morning and look forward to pressing the go live button. So thank you to all of those that have been along for the ride, and welcome to all those that are just joining us onward and upward for the 1000th show, which should fall somewhere around about 2025, I think. But what about you? What have been your personal highlights along the way? Gary actually suggested, when we were talking about this last night, he actually suggested there was a show a while back where my computer just decided, nope, not today. So his most memorable highlight was the show that never was. Cheers for that, Gary. But what about you? What have been your personal highlights? Is there a video that stands out? Was there a cock up along the way? There's been quite a few of them. Let us have your thoughts in the chat and we'll come back to it right after. Well, we'll come back to that at the end of the show, but let's get the show on the road. The peace and tranquility of Norway was rocked last week when another former North Sea oil rig was brought crashing to the ground by the team at Aker Solutions. Take a look at this. I'm in agreement with Ken Hatcher. Mad how that weight stands on those legs. Absolutely. Peter McKenna says cowabunga, and our friend Batshit Crazy has just joined us and said, "What's up? What's up?" There is a prize up for grabs today, Mr. Batshit Crazy. If you have a look along the bottom of the screen, that is what is up for grabs. Courtesy of the fine folks at Kinshofer. Lovely backpack. I was genuinely going to keep that myself, but you don't have a 600th show every day, do you? Now, if you arrived late, please don't forget, look at the bottom of the screen, type the word pack into the chat with a chance of winning that backpack. And speaking of our 600th show, how about another quick trip down memory lane to see how the show intro looked when we broadcast our then new look 250th episode? It looked like this. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. There we are. The show was taking shape. We had props, including that there. The mug that I was holding is probably there or thereabouts. Actually, quite like that intro, although I do prefer the one we've got now. Anyway, enough about us. We were talking yesterday about what we believed to be our perfect day. Ken Hatcher suggested a trip to Caterpillar's proving ground in Malaga. Gary Muirhead suggested a visit to the steel wrist factory. But I'd like to offer another suggestion. How about a trip to the CASE Tomahawk facility, like these people from New Zealand have just enjoyed?
Take people to America to experience this, and then once they're here, they're like, this is nothing what I ever thought.
Americans do it well for starters. It's large scale.
I knew that it'd be something fairly spectacular. It's more than what I expected, yeah.
The hospitality is second to none. The settings are amazing. Accommodation, it's all fantastic.
You get to learn about all CASE construction products, and then not only do you learn about them, but then you can go out there and actually put what you've learnt to work and jump on the machines.
The fact that we're able to try all the different machines and compare them side by side, especially to see the new models and try them on. I was excited to see the electric excavator, and I really enjoyed driving the dozers.
The Minotaur was pretty good, so I jumped into it and done a fair few laps. I guess I really enjoyed it because it's just something different. And if you don't like a size machine, you can jump into another size and explore that too. I think it's been really good.
The Minotaur, or DL550, when it gets to Australia, it'll be a game changer for us in the smaller track loader market, just because you won't have to buy that extra product, and the Minotaur lives up to what it's sold as.
I have grown up on mini excavators, and to jump on that and see where it's all going, yeah, amazing.
Now, the new ones look good. I'm not sure about the electric. I'm a bit more of a traditionalist, so it's going to take me a while to get over to the electric path. But the little 4.2, that seemed pretty good. So hopefully onwards and upwards with your minis.
With our government contracts, we will be expected to go electric within 5 years, as much as possible, as the market will allow us to do so. Electric will be the future across all range.
Learning about products that we don't get access to in Australia yet. So to be able to show people what is coming is, priceless for us and priceless for our customers that have come.
Excavators, rollers, skid steers, posi trucks.
It's a massive big boys playground, and I tell you, you're not left bored for a second. There's always something going on.
And when you can come here and do what we've done the last couple of days, it's awesome.
Is that an invitation? Yeah. We got that on film.
Gary Muirhead, our resident steerer spotter. I was going to say after that, why did New Zealanders get all the fun? Case, if you're watching, what about us? Quite a few people suggesting that we need one of these over here. Let's have a look. Just trying to find where people said that. I can't see it. I know Chris Ford is just listening today, but he's entered the competition. Ken Hatcher says, can't have the CASE dozer, it doesn't meet emissions. I'm going to take your word for that. Can't have one over here because we'd have an eco warrior crying about the greenbelt land. And there's Andy Darvell saying we need a proper adult digger world. Yeah, we've got one for kids. Very good they are too. I've only ever done the one down in Kent, but it's very, very good. But what about one for adults? That would be very nice. Ken Hatcher, are you wavering on the electric question? Are you actually starting to think electric might be the way forward? Bit of a traditionalist, like most of us. Ha 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 ha. Says Dan Cullen. Yeah, I think there is quite a bit of that around. Driving for Fox Group a while, I've come to like CASE machines. They're well built, perform well. Glad to hear it. The CASE Eagle Day was like that this year. Unfortunately, where was I? I was in Italy, wasn't I? Was I in Italy or was I in Germany? I can't remember. It was one of those. Peter McKenna. We'll come back to the question of the day, but Peter I think he was the first of our audience to join. We've had guests, obviously, along the way, but I think he was the first of our show audience to actually join us on the show. That's a landmark in itself. Now, let's get back to this. Now, I've already mentioned Ken Hatcher once this morning, and Ken has actually received his Kinshofer phone charger. It was originally destined for Mark Whiting, wasn't compatible with his phone, so Mark donated it to Ken because Ken's got a brand new iPhone 15 Pro. I'm sure he's very happy with it, and I've heard this morning that the charger works with the phone, so everyone's happy. But Ken Hatcher, we are now heading to his part of the UK, Wales, and we're going to do so to see a machine that is apparently part spider and part fish. Lots of people enjoying the spider excavator there. Let's go back very quickly. Ken Hatcher says, stuff that thing. They'd have me dangling over a cliff if I was on that. But yeah, Graham Williams says, awesome bit of kit. Always wanted to go on one of those. Make my life easier on some of the culverts we've got, says Kerry Jones. Who else did we have? Dan Cullen says, I'd love to get a go on one of those. Look as handy, if not handier than a 3CX. Gary Muirhead says, no point in Ken going on there. No sprockets for him to complain about. Andy Dalville saw one of those spider machines up at Snowdon when he climbed it last year. I had no idea you'd climb Snowdon, Andrew. Or Andy, should I say. Fantastic and versatile tool. A little like yourself, sir. How many of you think I wish I'd come up with that idea first? Who did come up with that idea first? The weird legs. He don't like spider diggers or spiders. Jim Turner says, great tool indeed. Dan Cullen says, Gary Muirhead, true, but he probably complain about travel time. Andy Dalville enjoying the show and enjoying me taking the mickey out of him. Now, let's get back on track because we've got lots more to tell you about. So let me roll one of these.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Just to let you know, we've now hit double figures on the entries for the prize giveaway. We've got 10, so you've got currently have a 1 in 10 chance of winning our prize for today. But keep typing. Type the word PACK, P-A-C-K, into the chat for your chance to win. If you've already done it, don't bother because it only registers one unless you go over to another platform. You can try that. It's never worked for anybody that I'm aware of, but you could try that if you wish. But yeah, P-A-C-K, PACK, as you can see across the bottom of the screen. Across the bottom of the screen there. Yeah, you are. The word. That's really difficult to do. You'd be surprised. Now, what was I saying? Yes, earlier in the show, we visited the CASE Tomahawk facility in the mighty US of A. Well, it turns out the Komatsu Tech Center in Japan looks pretty damn good too. Peter McKenna says, gives a whole new meaning to line dancing. It certainly does. I particularly like this one from Gary Muirhead. That music makes me hungry. Yes, absolutely. Sweet and sour pork balls and fried rice all round. I have to say, I really would absolutely love to go there. In fact, any excuse to go back to Japan. Let's have a look. Great music. I want to go for a dance. Dan, don't let us stand in your way. If you could do the whole Oriental thing, you knock yourself out, my friend. Graham Williams, love that as well. Let's have a look. Paul Deegan's in the house. Morning, Paul. Have a look at the bottom of the screen, Paul. You'll see there is a prize up for grabs, which I've now thrown on the floor. There you are. Kinshofer backpack up for grabs today. Just type the word PACK, P-A-C-K, into the chat below. Chris Ford looking at the Komatsu video. Follow the leader. Yeah, although the leader was tiny, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. we've got one more film and then we can have a bit of a chat. But let me roll this, get this out of the way, and then we'll get back to the other bit.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that the HS2 project ground to a halt after Rishi Sunak put the kibosh on the Birmingham to Manchester leg a few weeks ago. But work is still progressing. In fact, earlier this week, major components of a new tunnel boring machine were lowered into place in a 25-metre deep shaft at the Ealing site that's operated by Skanska, Costain and Strabag, the joint venture between those three. And we've got the footage complete with a suitably upbeat soundtrack. Now, bear with me because I have to dredge this from my hard drive. How do I do that? I do it every day and I can never remember. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Pretty cool, right? Now, let me put this back up on the screen because in about 30 seconds, I'm going to be finding out who has won the Kinshofer backpack. I can tell you, you now have a 1 in 13 chance. So 13 is going to be unlucky for some, but it's going to be very lucky for one person. You have about 30 seconds in which to type the word pack, P-A-C-K, into the chat. You can see it rolling across the bottom of the screen there. Now, just going back to that HS2 video, in case you were wondering why the machine was named Emily, it was named after Emily Taylor, a midwife who provided services for women that couldn't afford maternity care way back in the early part of the 19th century. 20th century, should I say. She went on to become Ealing's first female mayor in 1938. Can't help thinking that a tunnel boring machine is a slightly odd way to commemorate a midwife. Then again, maybe it's entirely appropriate. Think it through. Paul Deegan has just entered the competition, I think. But I think he may have already done that because we're already at 13, and 13 is apparently where it's going to stay. So let me get... You can't see this. I'm going to take that off my screen. I'm going to put something else up. I need to share my screen, and I need to share it with that. As you can see, there are currently 13 entries. Before I press the button, if anybody else would like to have a go, you can feel free. That's the wrong one. I think we want that one there. Right, okay, I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In that case, I'm going to press the button. Here goes the draw. Chris Ford, who is only listening today, but he has just won. Now, I wonder if this changes his highlight. If you were watching the chat earlier on, I was asking for your comments on what you believe to be a highlight of the last 600 shows. Chris Ford's was the fact that he won a hat a few weeks ago. Well, now he's won a backpack to go with it. Not sure if it's a matching pair. I can't remember which hat he won, but yeah, there you are. And there he is. He's obviously behind the times. I did a pad for Weldex so they could commission one of those cranes a couple of years ago. Plus or minus 20 millimeters over the whole pad, he says. Let the news sink in that he's just won himself a Kinshofer backpack. Chris, congratulations. Now, there is no gripe of the day today. In fact, just to let you know, in the interests of the progression of this show, I am seriously considering dropping the gripe of the day. Even when my gripe is completely tongue-in-cheek, it has a nasty habit of ending the show on a bit of a downbeat note, which is not really what I'm after. I'd much rather send you off to work, or back to work, should I say, with a smile on your faces. I'm going to give it some thought, see what I can come up with to replace it. But the gripe of the day may well be going away. So if you do have a gripe, you need to get it in very quickly. What is it that grinds your gears, gets your goat, and generally butters your parsnips? The daily gripe therapy session will return, but it is going away. Can't say I'm sorry having to come up with something new to gripe about. I mean, I've got plenty to gripe about, don't worry about that, but just, as I say, kind of ends us on a downbeat note, which I could do without. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show, number 600. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like for the 600th time into the chat, see what you're all saying today. And if you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, please stick around as we descend into the Craic, as it were, immediately after this word from our key show sponsor. Good morning, gang. How are we all doing? Lots of people saying congratulations to Mr. Ford. Well done, Chris. Huge congratulations, Chris Ford. Andy Darvell. Well done, Chris. You lucky, lucky boy. And there's Glenn Johnson saying congratulations, Chris. Not sure Chris has actually got the news yet. We'll come back to that. So we're going to go right the way back to the very, very beginning. Who was first off the mark this morning? Glenn Johnston. Morning, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I know you weren't one of our originals, although you've been around the show for quite some time. Any particular highlights? Having your name read out? It's not really a highlight, is it? The funny thing is, when we first started this, we used to do shout-outs, primarily for people's birthdays and that kind of thing. But we actually got messages. Can you give me a shout-out? Can you give my friend a shout-out at 10:15 in the morning? that kind of fell away because I think everybody realised not that big a deal. I can do that anytime I like. So if anybody ever wants a shout out, just let me know. I'm more than happy to do it. There is Graham Footy Williams saying good morning, bro. Good morning to you as well, Graham. Dan Cullen, morning. Yeah, morning to you as well. Andy Darvell says, good morning, everyone. Happy 600th show, Mark. Yeah, it really is a happy 600th show. Not least because of that. Yeah. Seriously, how cool is that? Bearing in mind where this show came from, out of complete necessity, I was no longer able to do my day job for various reasons, and I just threw myself into live streaming, and yeah, we've built this community, and a very generous community it is as well. And there is the man responsible. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys, and happy 600th episode, 600th birthday. It feels like that at times. But it really has. I was going to say it's been a roller coaster ride. It's been nothing of the sort. It's just been a completely upward trajectory. I think we've had a couple that have gone wrong, where the internet has let us down. My computer completely refused to broadcast a show once. But apart from that, 600 shows. Yes, there's been glitches along the way, and not everything that I've ever said has been entirely popular in certain circles. I can live with that. I'm a grown-up, but by and large, this show has just gone from strength to strength to strength. I'd love to be able to claim responsibility for it, but there'd be no point in me doing the show if it wasn't for the fact that we have people sat here watching. So, thank you. Happy 600th show. Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate that. And there's Ken Hatcher, who's reported to me this morning that his new iPhone charger, the Kinshofer charger, works perfectly, which is great news. I'm sure Mark Whiting will be delighted to hear that. There's Andy Darvell saying, morning hats. Peter McKenna, happy 600th show. Lots and lots of those coming through. Ken Hatcher, 600. Wow, I remember the first one. Ken, we've never actually spoken about that because it was done out of necessity. There wasn't any great build-up. I didn't sort of pre-promote it or anything like that. I came back from Las Vegas, ConExpo 2020. I got back over the weekend, and I think on the Monday or possibly the Tuesday, I just pressed the go live button. There was no pre-promotion. I didn't tell anyone I was going to do it. I just did it, and a few people turned up, including Ken. And then I did it the day after that, and a few more people turned up. And before you knew it, I was doing it every day, and that was never the intention. I've mentioned this before, I'm sure I'm boring you all now, but sometime around about the second or third show, I actually said, I'm going to be doing this live streaming thing until the world gets back to normal after COVID, so I'll probably be gone in about a fortnight. And here we are, 3.5 years later, still banging the drum. Good morning, everyone. This is Charlie Austin. Happy 600th show. Thanks for that, Charlie. Charlie's one of our newer members, but you're very, very welcome. Thank you very much indeed for that, Charlie. Chris Ford says, good morning, Mark, and he is our winner. Congratulations on 600. And congratulations on winning the Kinshofer backpack. I'm sure I've got your address here somewhere, but I'll go and have a bit of a route around, make sure I have. Dan Cullen. Dan, this pretty much sums up my feelings on this morning. Morning, everyone. Well, who knew we'd get this far? Who indeed? Not me. Not me. I do remember thinking when we did our 100th show, and we did a bit of a rebranding, thinking 100 shows, that's mad. And then 500 rolled around when we changed the look, and we started to have, it's that side. I can't do it. Where is it? It's over there. This kind of branding, and we got that sign from Gary Muirhead, and we had that from our youngest viewer as well. And the lighting came in, and this panel over here started to fill up with stuff that commemorates some of the things that I've done. I don't know if you can see it very well. That's a VIP lanyard from Volvo for the motor racing. That one is my trip to Combi Lift. There's a Volvo badge there. There's that's from the Bobcat demo days. There's loads of stuff over there. Constant reminder of some of the stuff that I've got up to over the past couple of years. Very nice, says Ken Hatcher. And he's referring to that, which is going to go up there. You have no idea how hard it is to coordinate your fingers to do that. Good morning is a contradiction of terms. Yeah, unfortunately, while we're all celebrating the 600th anniversary of this 600th show of Peter McKenna is supposed to be under the knife this morning, and the hospital have once again mucked him about, and he's not going under the knife until Friday. That being said, you did get to enter the competition. That also being said, you didn't get to win. Swings and roundabouts, my friend. Let's have a look. Jim Turner's in the house. There's lots of people. There's our new friend, Carlos. Carlos, did I give you some welcome confetti? I don't believe I did. So let me do that right now. When you arrive on the show for the first time, you get some of that. That's for you. I can't actually see how you end up pronouncing that Carlos, but if Andy Darvell says Carlos, Carlos it is. Lots and lots of entries for the competition. There is the explanation. Call him Carlos. I shall. More entries. Dan Cullen says, God, really put back again? At this rate, Peter McKenna, you'll be a century old by the time they come to operate. It is getting to take the mickey now, isn't it? More this day in history, 1839, Bradshaw's Railway Guide, the world's first railway timetable, was published in Manchester. Who knew? In 1854, Lord Cardigan led the charge of the Light Brigade. I did do that one. And what a complete balls up that was. 2013, a dog walker found around £60,000 in banknotes, some charred after being burnt, floating on a Lincolnshire waterway. South Drove drain in Spalding. 6 months later, police were still following up a number of lines of inquiry. Number of times I've been fishing. Never once found 60 grand on a waterway. I did once catch a TomTom sat-nav system. Really? Whoever owned that clearly wasn't paying attention to the sat-nav because it ended up in a canal. There is our question of the day, which, as I say, came courtesy of Gary Muirhead. There's been a lot. I mean, there's been a couple of interviews that really stood out. And I have to say, the ability to turn up and have a proper go at things like Red Car, and the fact that we're 4 years in, no resolution, the fact that we're 8 years into Didcot and no resolution, being able to bang the drum on things like embodied carbon and mental health, all of those. But the best thing, I wrote an article yesterday. Don't get out the violins, but seems an odd subject for show number 600. But I am not what you'd call blessed in the friends department. I've had friends in the past, lots of friends, back when I was at school and at college and all that. But over the years, I've sort of kind of let friendships wane, and it's entirely my fault. I'm just a crap person most of the time. And then I basically ended up with two what I consider to be really close friends. One of them's moved away, haven't seen him in a good few years. And then my best mate was killed in a motorcycle accident. So I wrote this article yesterday about the fact that I am, come Friday or Friday night, Saturday night, my options are hanging out with Mrs. Demolition News or hanging out with the kids. That I don't have any other options really. And yet, when I do this show, there you are. All of you guys are there. And listen, I mentioned this to Gary a couple of days ago. I don't know whether it is the fact that we are in the tail end of the year or whatever it might be, but I've not been feeling particularly fired up, feeling a lot better today because of the 600th show. But there's been nothing major to look forward to. In the past, I've had, the next trip to Germany, the next trip to Italy or France or whatever it might be. As it stands at the moment, the next big thing on my horizon is Intermat, which is in April next year. So nothing major. Obviously, I'm going to be out and about and lots of things to do. I've been talking about an interview just this morning before I came on air, but not much to look forward to. But this show really does give me that. And I do wonder, I didn't help myself, I think, with the friendship thing. I just sort of assumed that people would flock to me, I think, when I left school and college. And then I think that one of the worst things that I ever did, better for my health ultimately, but not particularly good for me personally was I gave up drinking. I'd been a proper, a semi-professional drinker for most of my adult life, and then I had a health scare. Decided no, enough is enough, and I don't drink anymore. And when you think about what constitutes a get-together with people of my age, it's around somebody's house for bottles of wine, or it's out down the pub for beer, and I don't do that. So yeah, you guys, honestly, the fact that I turn on here every day, and I'm going to get back to more cheery things in a second. The fact that I turn up here every day and I've got you lot means a lot, really does. There is Dan Cullen saying happy hump day one and all. It is hump day, isn't it? Highlights of this show. Peter McKenna says, the host and the company. Thank you very much indeed for that, Peter. Bearing in mind what I just said, means a lot. Graham Footy Williams. Yes, now here was a highlight. We were actually told that Graham had passed his health and safety course before he was. I felt slightly bad announcing it on the show when I then discovered that he hadn't been told, but I have to say, that's, spread a little joy on a weekday morning, just to be able to tell somebody, that course that you did? Well, you passed, my friend, and you're back in the game. Chris Ford, much easier to please. Question of the day. What is the highlight of 600 shows? He won a hat. Brilliant. Going back to the Norwegian oil rig. Mad how that weight stands on those legs. Yeah, and I think what is weirder about it, obviously, there is a degree, I guess, of flotation with those big rigs. So I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming that maybe the ocean takes some of the weight or whatever it might be, and yet they haul them onto land, stand them on those legs, and those legs do look damn spindly for all that's above. Question of the day. Meeting mostly everyone bar a few at Plant Works. Great content by yourself and Fred. Keep us entertained at tea time. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. Let's have a look. Question of the day. It has to be the show dedicated to the Despe Jumbo demolition excavator. What a beast. Yeah, it's been one of the highlights of my career to go and do that. It's also been one of the highlights of this year, I think. When I do look back at the year, I'll come back to that in a second. When I do look back at this year, that will unquestionably be one of the highlights. I was lucky enough to get myself over to Italy 4 times this year, once on holiday and 3 times working. Every time was brilliant, but that visit to see the Jumbo was awesome. Now, I've just mentioned the end of the year. You might remember, I'm sure some of you definitely will remember, beginning of December last year, I hosted what I called our 2022 prediction show, in which I and you predicted what might happen within the industry over the next 12 months. And I promised that I would be doing another prediction show in which we recapped the predictions to see how accurate they were. And as far as off the top of my head, I can remember one prediction, which was XCMG setting up shop in the UK. We got that one right. I can't remember if we got anything else right. But the plan, early December, I need to clarify the date, but early December, I'll be doing another prediction show. We will start with a recap of predictions from last year, see how well we did. Not very, would be my guess. And then we'll dedicate the second half of the show to our predictions for 2024. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'd say locals would have thought that was an earthquake and thunder. Yeah, I would imagine that probably woke up the Norwegians. Norwegians, quite a peaceful bunch. Big old bang like that. Bottom of my screen says overview live chat, top comments. Nowhere does it say pack. I think, unfortunately, in actual fact, I need to take that off. Too late to enter now. There we are. Let's get rid of it. Unfortunately, I think some of the social media platforms actually overlay my overlay, if you know what I mean. Not much I can do about that. Andy Darvell says, great blowdown. You're damn right. Congratulations, says Batshit Crazy. 600 shows. Gary Muirhead, I remember every one of those intros makes you feel old. Yeah. How many of you remember the Black Curtain period? When I first had this office, it was very untidy back there. The shelf wasn't there. That wasn't there. So I thought an easy fix was I'd suspend a black curtain behind me and just shine a pink or purple light up the back. So I was sat here in semi-darkness, so it made it look like I was about to read Tales of the Unexpected or something. And we had a black backdrop. It looked awful. It looked absolutely awful. Covered up the crap behind me. But does anyone remember that? Because that lasted, I think that was pre-Breakfast show. I think that lasted probably for about 70, 80 shows before I finally grew tired of it. We gradually added and added and added. Wow, that's cool. They would need something like that in the UK. That would be the Tomahawk Centre. Dead right. Love to have one in the UK. Batshit Crazy doesn't want the prize. Thank you for that. Do you know, here's another thing. I realise the prizes aren't marvellous. I mean, the Kinshofer backpack is nice. It really is a very, very nice backpack. And I was going to keep it, but more than glad to give it away. But the number of times that we've had somebody win a prize and they've given it to somebody else for one reason or another, like Ken Hatcher has now got himself a wireless phone charger for his iPhone 15 because Mark Whiting's phone wasn't compatible, and Mark said, well, you know, Ken's got a new phone coming, send it to him, which I did. You guys are just the best, honestly. Very good, very good thing. Like, no, don't know. Sound no vision today, but enjoying it nonetheless. Probably enjoying it a whole lot more now that you've won the backpack, I would guess, Chris. That's why we can't have the Tomahawk Centre over here in the UK, because of eco warriors, apparently. I've got a horrible feeling. Oh, excuse me, you could well be right. We can't have case dozers. It doesn't meet the emissions standards. Is that right? Is that right? We need a proper adult digger world, don't we? Don't we just? If anybody's out there that wants to do an adult digger world and set up a little studio out the back of it so that I can do this show surrounded by diggers, count me in. There's Chris Ford, who entered the competition, as it turns out, completely in passing and then went on to win. Ken Hatcher, surprise, surprise, says Mini Case Electric was nice. Gary never stops. Look, Mark, steel wrist. Funny enough, I didn't even spot it. Bit of a traditionalist, like most of us, says Dan Cullen. Yeah, there was a guy there who wasn't having the electric machine at all. Driving for Fox, I've come to like Case machines. They're well built and perform well. They certainly do. They're not the, what are they? Probably the third or fourth biggest construction equipment, fourth or fifth construction equipment maker in the world. You don't get to be that size by making crap products. Question of the day. Realising how enjoyable and interactive the show is. Obviously your show, Mark, but it's also everyone's show that wants to contribute to it. That really is what sets it apart and head and shoulders above from anything else. Thank you for that, Jim. I'm glad you said that, because it sounds very trite when I say it. You know, oh, this is your show. But can you imagine me doing this show purely as a recorded thing, so not live? So I turn on the record button, and I do a bit of an intro, play a video, do a bit of an intro, play a video, do an intro, play a video, and then call it a halt. There's no interaction, no feedback. You guys completely make this show. I know it wasn't a breakfast show. It was actually one of our evening shows. But no, it wasn't. It was a Saturday show. It was one of our Saturday social shows. And Al Grierson joined us from Luxembourg. And I to this day, I've never been back to watch it, but we were talking about, obviously, diggers and dozers and demolition and construction equipment and all these kind of things. And at the very end of the show, we were talking about donkey ownership, because Al owns 2 donkeys. I've no idea where the pivot happened. I have no idea what somebody said to take the conversation in that direction, but I'm so grateful it did. And the number of times we've done that, we've ended up going off in a complete tangent, because that's the way conversation works. Case Eagle Day was like that this year. Yeah, I completely missed it, unfortunately, because I was elsewhere. I seem to remember I was being paid to be elsewhere as well. That's a whole other story. Question today. Being the first person to join you live on the show. This is Peter McKenna's highlight. It's about time we saw others doing the same. Two things there. Yes, Peter was unquestionably the first of our audience members to actually turn up in person live. We do have bits and pieces, recorded bits and pieces from our audience, like when I can find it.
Hi, I'm Gary Muirhead, and you're watching The Breakfast Show.
See, we do have things like that were pre-recorded, but Peter was unquestionably the first to be on the show, although Dan Cullen was on a few weeks after. So two things. Yes, Peter, you were most definitely the first. Second, I've completely forgotten that I was trying to give over part of Friday to open the gates, to let you guys in. I need to resurrect that. I need to put a post-it note somewhere to remind me that the Friday show is open to you guys. If I forget, let me know. Kerry Jones says, always wanted to go on one of those. That's the spider excavator. Make my life easier on some of the culverts I've got. Graham Williams says, awesome bit of kit. You don't see many of them around. All the same, takes a lot, I imagine, to get used to it, but an awesome bit of kit. They really are. And they're an absolute showstopper. Whenever you go to Con Expo, Balmer, Intermat, whatever, when one of those machines is there from Menzimark or from Kaiser, literally guarantee crowds. They start the music, the machine starts doing its weird leg thing, and you've got a guaranteed crowd. I'd like to see a few more of them out there. Ken Hatcher, stuff that thing. They would have me dangling over a cliff if I was on that. Yeah, in actual fact, I've seen them working over the edge of a bridge on occasions. That looks precarious, and no mistake. I'd love to get a go on one of those. They look just as handy, if not handier, than a 3CX. The only thing, and I always do this, and it's hard to demonstrate, I always think operating one of those must be like that. You know that thing that you do, pat your head and rub your stomach? Because there's not only are you handling slew and crowd and all of it, but you've got like a Thunderbird puppet, you've got the legs to deal with as well. Can't be easy, I'm sure. Andy Darvell says he saw one of these up Snowdon when I climbed it last year. That's where you tend to see them. I know when I've been up into Alps in France and Italy, you do tend to see them around doing sort of mountainside maintenance and that kind of thing, because they do have that ability to sit almost vertical. Peter McKenna says, how many of you think I wish I'd come up with that idea first? I wish I'd come up with lots of ideas. Do you know, I'll take this to my grave. Many years ago, I came up with the idea of personalized music albums. So you would apply to a company and say, here is my top 10, 12, 15 songs of all time. And they would put it all onto one, and at the time it would have been a CD. That's how long ago I came up with the idea. And I spoke to a few people and banded it around, and people liked the idea, but ultimately it could go no further because of concerns over copyright. And then fast forward, I now have pretty much my entire record collection on there. I'd have loved that. My own. Maybe that should be a question of the day. What would be your top 5 songs to go on an album? Give that some thought. If I remember, that may come up at some point in the future. Kerry Jones, you don't like spiders, spider diggers or spiders? Great tool, Jim Turner says. Now, I did say who came up with the idea of the walking spider excavator. You can always rely on Peter McKenna. And that does actually answer an important question. The inventor of the walking spider excavator, Ernst Menzi, as in Menzimark, I would assume, 1897 to 1984. That was a pretty good innings. He was not just a genius inventor, he was also a born entrepreneur, strongly influential figure in the history of the Menzimark walking excavator. Thank you for that. That would be an interesting journey back through the mists of time. Obviously, he's no longer with us, but it would be lovely to get the backstory on that. Got 3 little dogs watching today. Want to pick them up, sitting in the cold with me watching. I do keep promising to bring my dogs on the show, don't I? I will get around to that. Don't know why I can't see Gary Muirhead's comments on the messages screen. I think... So when we broadcast this to, when we broadcast this show, it goes to 5 different destinations. it goes to YouTube, it goes to Twitter, it goes to LinkedIn, but it also goes to 6 locations actually. It goes to 3 different pages on Facebook. It goes to Demolition News, Diggers and Dozers, and Demolition Discussion. My guess is if you, for example, Dan, are watching on Demolition News and Gary is commenting on Diggers and Dozers, or vice versa, you won't see his comments unless I actually put them on the screen. That may be the answer. I don't know, but it may be the answer. The Japanese music making Gary and your head hungry. I seem to get hungry while doing this show all the time. Ken, sprockets are all wrong. I did notice there was quite a few in that Komatsu lineup, all at the front. Yes, gives a whole new meaning to line dancing, and our resident sprocket spotter, Ken Hatcher, actually spotted the fact that there was a few misplaced sprockets along the way. Paul Deegan showed up and said, hello indeed. Chris Ford, follow the leader. And there's Paul entering the competition. Charlie Austin reckons I need that bag. I've been using the same one since my daughter was born, and she's nearly 11 now. That must be a strong bag. Mick Norton turned up to help us celebrate our 600th show as well. Morning, Mick. Lovely big Weldex Leave Hair Crawler crane. Yes, indeed. Do like Weldex. One of those companies that I admire from afar. Big tools, them things. You're damn right they are. Now, I know that the shaft that thing was being lowered down was 25 metres deep, and various other. Nobody mentioned the weight of the tunnel boring machine, or at least the parts that made it up. I'll go and have a dig, see if I can come back to you on that. Dan's not bothered about face or boobs. How do I get that conclusion? He was more interested in the undercarriage. Okay. TBMs are a massive piece of engineering. They most certainly are. It's rolling through. Good point, I think. Shame with how much they are worth. They just throw them away. Yeah, and we did get a comment about this, about some of the mining machines as well, underground mining machines, that are sometimes, not always, but sometimes, they reach the end of their natural working life. That's where they stay. They are buried underground. Love the tune, suits the video. Get played around quite a bit with that this morning, funnily enough. Peter McKenna says, we have to recycle. Why don't they? It's a very good question. Paul Deegan was enjoying the music. Peter McKenna is dancing around the sofa. Wow. Great techie song for the TBM video. We aim to please. Did we hear back from Chris Ford, I wonder? Dan Cullen says, what about sharing operators' videos on various kit? Be happy to. Be more than happy to. Listen, you know, we are always on the lookout for content. I mean, all I would say, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, I try to pick the very best of the very best. So, you know, if you're shooting video of a machine and you're doing that kind of thing, I'm not going to run that. But if you've got some decent footage, you know, if you can rest that phone or camera on a tripod or a nice flat rock or something like that, and you can film some, listen, more than happy. More than happy. Chris Ford, blimey, I might even buy a lottery ticket. I only normally get bad luck. Will you be having a competition for a lunchbox? We had some lunch bags from Plantworks, but they are all gone. So no, not anytime soon. But you have got a backpack. And thanks everyone, says Chris Ford. Do a birthday wall for charity, like Ollie Bloggs does his birthday bumper. Don't know that one. Birthday wall for charity. Need to tell me more. I'll not have a birthday shout out as you'll be on Xmas Holes. Yeah, you are one of those like my father-in-law. You've got a Christmas birthday. I do remember you mentioned that before, Dan. I think the show was an amazing brainwave, and you and Fred have done a fabulous job of keeping us entertained on the break. Thank you very much. Made my day when I met you, Lou, Ken, Peter, and a few others at Plantworks. Justin Carrigan, all the way from the mighty, awesome Earthmovers. Morning, Justin. Good of you to join us. You arrived just a little bit late. You've missed the prize. but great to see you. How's your little one doing? I don't suppose the little one's that little anymore, but good to see you, Justin. Hope all is well. Give my best to Dale and to Chris and the rest of the gang over at Awesome Earth Movers. Peter McKenna says, likewise, pleasure to spend a week with you, bro. Always good meeting like-minded people. Yeah, and that's ultimately that's all we've done. We've just opened a meeting room, I guess, for like-minded people. 600. I'm not sure that's absolutely true. 600 quality interactive shows is testament to your ability to reach those at the coalface throughout several sectors. I couldn't necessarily claim that all 600 were quality. There's been some absolute stinkers along the way, but thank you. Mark, the reason you found a TomTom dumped in the canal, they were total garbage when they first came out. You're probably right. I do. The annoying thing was I was fishing, I can tell you, I remember it very well. I was fishing the Way Navigation Canal up at Wisley, a couple of miles away from where I'm sat. And there are some bigger fish in there, but not that many. So you're sitting there catching fish about yay big. And float went under, I struck, and it was like, Jesus, that weighs a lot. And I was actually thinking maybe I've snagged a carp or something like that. And then and there it was. And if you remember rightly, the old TomTom, and there was a TomTom, but it had a big lump of like cable sticking out the bottom of it. And that's what I'd snagged onto. Andy Darvell, you pronounce his name Corollis. I would even try to pronounce his. I won't even try to pronounce his surname. Even Carlos can't get it right. Well done. Show was to end. I'll be completely lost at 10 a.m. I'm number one break. Watching great content. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Just wanted to say I'm in awe of what you do. You work tremendously hard to bring us this show. I think we're lucky to be part of it. Lucky to have you. Now, here is a very pleasant surprise. Neil Edwards. Neil Edwards. I saw Neil a few weeks back, but he's not been on this show for quite some time. Neil, you already know. I've said it to you in person. The door is open whenever you're ready to come back on. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have got Neil's take on the HS2 debacle when Rishi Sunak put the kibosh on that, but Neil was away on holiday at the time. But Neil, let's find an excuse to get you back on the show, because I know the folks around these parts have missed you. Question of the day, winning multiple prizes and a few things you sent me, Mark, very much appreciated. Not a problem at all, Dan. Mark, I've never needed alcohol to enjoy people's company. It's nice to have the odd one, but it's not the be-all and end-all. I've had lots of fun at festival concerts, even in pubs and clubs when I've never drunk anything at all alcoholic. It's even funny when you're the only one to remember how many idiots are about, including friends, when on the old pop. Yeah, well, there's the upside. You're right. You get to admire the shenanigans of your friends, but you're also always the designated driver. That's the bit I don't particularly like. Salman Khan, good morning to you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for being here to celebrate the 600 show. Here talking about Third World War. It's going to stop everything else going on. If there is a Third World War, I shall just broadcast this from a bunker. Jim Turner, I've never met you, Mark, but I consider you a friend. As a friend is someone you can rely on to help if they can. Cheers, Jim. Cheers. Means a lot, really does. Congratulations on 600 show, absolutely brilliant. Neil was a key part of the growth of the show, so Neil, thank you for your part in that. Set alarm for HE services. That will be the my plans for an adult Diggerland. I also remember when you moved the office about to allow your father to stay with you, and that didn't last long. Wow, yeah. That was the beginning of last year. And well, in actual fact, I mean, the moving of the office, for those of you who don't remember, I lost my mum. My dad was really struggling. So the plan was to bring him here. And I'm basically in a bedroom. It's downstairs, but I'm in a bedroom. And the plan was to bring my dad here. So we emptied this office. I moved into a corner of the dining room. For about a week, my dad moved in here, but he literally lasted one day here. And he woke up the following morning and said, I've got a house. very kind of you to try and put me up, but you know, I'm getting your way, you're getting in my way. I'm going back home. So it took me maybe about 10 days to move the office and then move it back again. And yes, we all know how that one turned out. Question of the day. I love the way you completely interact with us. Like you say, it's our show too. Fantastic to be able to air our views and knowledge. Keep up the great show, Mark. Thank you, Andy. You know, that's one of the other things that maybe I need to start doing that as a bit of a drip feed. Actually send stuff out and say, what are your thoughts on this? And then we get to the chat and see how that all pans out. Peter McKenna says, got an interview tomorrow with a local recycling company for a plant operator. Rate of pay, minimum wage. Don't know whether to just do the wine sales or go to work for nothing, but we'll see what other benefits they have on offer. How can you be minimum wage with that experience? It makes no sense to me at all. Need to try for... Bloody hell, Dan. Need to try for maybe 3 Saturday shows a month. Is that an idea? Well, it's an idea. Not saying it's necessarily a good idea. Nuevo Tipo. Not entirely sure what the rest of it says. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias for you, for being here. Really appreciate it. There is Peter McKenna putting up a link. That's all to do with the spider excavator. I can see everyone else's comments, but Gary doesn't show. That's really weird. Don't understand that at all. Just go on menzimuck.com and go to the history page. Tells you all you need to know. I'm going to go and take a look at that. The first walking spider excavator conquered the world from Widnow, Menzi Muck's Unstoppable Triumph, launched in 1966. See, because the Germans were licking their wounds after we'd given them a caning in the World Cup final. Jeff Hurst, Bobby Moore, Martin Peters, and some other people. Until then, there was no conventional construction equipment to take care of heavy-duty work on slopes. First machine was delivered in 1966, and its name was based on the legendary fairy tale character Muck, as in the story of Little Muck. Might be famous in Germany. I've never heard of it. There's lots more that you can read about that, but go and have a look at the Menzi Muck page. I would suggest. Hey, that's an idea. Breakfast show lunchbox. See, let me have a look, because I know on our merch store we do have things like flasks and mugs and stuff like that. Never looked for a lunchbox. Let me have a look. Yes, do you know, Dan, that has just occurred to me as well. I caught the satellite navigation system on a navigation canal. Really. I've given you a teaser. If you want to know more, go to their website when the show has ended. Yeah, please do that. Neil Edwards, we'll line that up soon. Neil Edwards, about to make a comeback, people. Stand by your beds. Let's have a look. I've driven over 1 million miles. The odd couple of miles more won't kill me, says Peter McKenna. You never know. Also proud to call everyone on the show a friend. Well said, Gary. Well said indeed. I'm not going to share the link to the article. I was saying this to my wife the other day, Mrs. Demolition News, who I don't think is actually watching this morning, but I don't have a choice but to write. I've been doing it for so long that literally I sit in front of a laptop and words just begin to spill out. Most of the words that spill out are geared towards this show now. I was lying, she is in the chat. Most of the words that I write are for this show, but there's other stuff that goes on in my brain that I also like to get out and about, and it's things like, like my parents passing away and things like that. So I've just got a little private website where I dump that stuff. It's more to get it out of my head than to make it public, but it's there. If anyone wants to see it, let me know. I'm not going to promote it. It's not that big a deal. Jim Turner sounds like a good idea. Give us the info beforehand so we can give our summing up of it for you. Funnily enough, on the same subject, you all know that I spend my every waking hour staring at YouTube. And one of the things that I've been watching recently is a guy, I'm trying to remember his name, Dickie Bush, guy over in the States, who has quite a following on a variety of newsletters that he does. A very big following, actually, 300,000 plus followers on Twitter. But one of the things that he does with his writing, which I don't do, because I come from a magazine background, I have always tended to research a subject, take my view on it, put that on paper, present it to people. The thing that Dickie Bush does, which I won't bore you with, but one of the things that he does is when he starts to research a thing, rather than keeping it all under wraps, he puts it out on Twitter and says, I'm doing some work on this thing here. While I'm working on it, what do you make of it? And I think maybe we should have that. And maybe that becomes the replacement for our gripe of the day. We actually have a discussion point that we can then turn into articles and videos and discussion points and everything else. Jim, I'm writing that down. Do you do tea towels, Mark? Looking for a good birthday gift for the wife? I want no part of that. We don't do tea towels, and I'm glad we don't do tea towels, because I do not want you giving a Breakfast Show tea towel to your wife for her birthday. Listen, when the divorce happens, I want no part of it. Trust me. Final hello goes to my good lady wife, who hopefully has got the cat one right about now. That is an hour and 19 minutes on our 600th show. It's back to normal tomorrow, just regular 601. Looking off into the distance, round about 2025. I reckon around about the middle of 2025. We're averaging somewhere between 200 and 220 shows a year. So we will be doing our, assuming that I'm not hit by a lightning bolt for something I've said about somebody, 2025, round about the middle of 2025. Please be here, because I'd hate to be celebrating 1,000 shows on my own. Right, I need to go and dig out Chris Ford's postal address, because I've got to send him a backpack that he didn't even know he'd won. How about that? Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Dan Cullen says, have a great day. Stay safe, one and all. Perfect way to end. Please do exactly what Dan has just said. Stay safe, and I'll see you all tomorrow for show 601.